Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming. My name's Nick O'Brien. I've got 20 minutes, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about how our partners help our customers on their migration and modernization journey. That's essentially what I'm going to do. I'm going to give a little bit of context, and then I'm going to tell some stories. So I'm going to give you some explanations of like where we've seen some nice examples of how our partners are helping our customers. So look, thank you very much. It's really special actually for me. I've come into this hall so many times over the years, and I've done some presentations, but I've never done a presentation in here, and it is a fantastic feeling seeing like such a hive of activity. Right, let me get on. Okay, so this is probably an emotion and a sentiment that many people would have. Like whenever you're embarking on something big in your personal life or in your working capacity, is you're asking the question, you're looking around, you're saying, who's with me, right? Who's going to help me do this, undertake this task? And certainly, I'd like to think you can count on AWS to support you on that journey, but often our customers are helped as well by our partners. And I tried to sort of think about how I could structure the different ways in which they help. So I tried to come up with a little sort of various different structure, which gives 6 reasons that I think our partners do a great job in helping a customer. And I'm just going to sort of share those and then give you these examples, these stories where those things have happened in reality. So the first one, which is super important for all of our customers, is how do they get to the value? How do they get the benefits of these projects, and how do they get there quicker? Now, we are a pretty big organization. We collect a lot of data, probably doesn't surprise you. And we see customers that go it alone, and we see customers that go with partners. And we are utterly convicted in the impact that our partners have in helping customers realize their objectives faster. Like we see it in loads of data, we've got loads of proof points, and it's like something that is like a recurring theme is that they definitely help. Their know-how, their ability, their tools, their experience all make a massive difference in terms of getting there fast. So that's number one. The second thing that they bring, and there's no better place than coming into this room and seeing it, is just the sheer wealth and depth of expertise that they have, and the hundreds of thousands of people they've got with certifications that just extend. And over the years, as we've been doing more and more migration projects, what we've really seen is skill shortages, lack of understanding is something that blocks and slows people down. So having the access to our partner community that helps them and brings that real expertise where they can learn from is pivotal reason in why they're used. The third thing, again, no better place really to demonstrate this point, is all of their pre-built and tailored solutions that they have. I've enjoyed my time here already talking to partners and listening to the stories. There was one yesterday which I really liked about a partner that had quite a large customer base in the engineering space, and they were building out AI processes to help customers in that market embarking on these big projects use AI to help them undertake that work. So they're developing these innovative little ideas that are then practical things that customers can use. And I really recommend, you're probably doing it anyway, you don't need me, but there's so many clever companies that we've got here in this hall that have got really good IP that have helped customers. And if you haven't been doing that, I would really encourage you to explore that. Concerto, Matilda, Cast, some of our big partners like Kalen, they've got some fantastic technology, stacks of brilliant things, and it's all available and you can see it here. So I would encourage that. The fourth thing, which makes a massive difference as well, is the cost of projects. So the one thing that we've done as a fairly large organization is we've said, hey, what will slow a customer down is they might think that they want to do a project, but they have to run their business. They've got a P&L, they've got a certain budget that they've got to operate within, and there's costs. And what we were seeing is there was a lot of times where customers were keen, but they were reticent on the financial side. So we've built out a number of programs that help our partners sort of mitigate some of the costs that they have so our customers don't have to pay. So they get the job done, they bring it in, we pick up the bill, and you get access to those skills. And some of our partners are really good at understanding how those programs work, and that makes a massive difference. I've got an example that I was going to talk to you about where that exact thing happened. And it's something that we think is a real value proposition that our partners have, is an understanding that. And we have competencies that help sort of guide that process. The last two I'll quickly touch on, sources of innovation. Yeah, I've got an example which I just think is a stunning case of how our partners are just bringing something to the table in the discussions that they have and ideating about what solutions customers can take on. And I think that is getting an external perspective to sort of come in and sort of like challenge you as well. I find that's like over the course of our projects, that's really good, fruitful stuff for our customers. And the last thing, very quickly, like, here we are at re:Invent, there are so many announcements that we make, and every announcement that we'll make, there will be a partner dimension to that. We'll have like early access programs, we'll have partners up and ready. So in order for those people that are interested in that, we have an extended community that are dialed in as well. And that really does help like explain some of these things for customers and extend that reach out as well. So that's another thing that makes a massive difference. So they were the different things that I was thinking about in terms of themes. And then I sort of thought, well, I should say, before I get into my stories, I should say we've got a pretty decent amount of choice as well. So we've got over 140,000 partners available, huge number of partners that you can choose from. We put a lot of effort into developing competency, so when a partner says they've got certain credentials, that they've been validated by us, and we cover like a huge range of different categories. So like you can sort of see a sample there of some household names that you're probably familiar with. So, but to move on, let's talk about these stories, because I think this is really where it brings it to life for me. So the first story I've got is about a customer called Vector. Is anyone here from New Zealand? Has anyone travelled that far? No, I didn't think so. but anyway, they were a power and gas company in New Zealand. The partner in this case was Slalom. This is probably ticks some of the boxes that I just described earlier. One of the things that we do, we've launched AWS Transform as a service. That's got different components to help like bring an agentic approach into how customers embark on big migration and modernization projects. One element of that is for VMware. And this is really very new in terms of how long it's been available. And Slalom just took this customer on that journey. And they've got the capability to understand how to do it, and they can see how to do it in the new world. And what they were able to do it is halve the time it took for actually doing that entire scan of the infrastructure, being able to understand how you could build out these planning waves, how you can understand the network topology, how you can understand what different systems are available. So without Slalom's help, they would not have done it as quickly, and they wouldn't have had access to like some of our newest technology in this area. So huge credentials towards Slalom in this particular story. If I move on, so I've got a couple more stories here. This one, and why I like it so much is this is the financial story, really. So I'll sort of elaborate a little bit more on what I described earlier. PDI Technologies, they're an ISV. They produce software which is available for gas and petrol stations, as we'd say in the UK. So if you go into the store in terms of the payment, customer loyalty, those systems that are running, so you'd see them at Pilot, Shell, big petrol gas station chains. And they have a significant hardware infrastructure, and they were running across 5 different data centers. They were encountering some issues in terms of resilience and stability, so there was some feelings about they needed to modernize. They were presented with like a big cost for tech refresh, so there was going to be a sizable amount of investment that I was going to make, and they were saying, hey, we would be interested in going to the cloud, but this has to be cost neutral inside the year. So a really big project here. And talking about so we had 2 partners in this, two for the price of one in this one. We had 2 partners that sort of stepped up to try and find a way to actually meet the commercial objectives of that project, cost neutral. And so Calent was our delivery partner. They did a huge amount of work. As I talked earlier, they really understand how our programs work and what incentives are available and how we could piece all that together. But despite, and that's a very formula-driven approach, but it wasn't quite enough to make it cost neutral. So again, creatively, they then brought another partner in that was an asset licensing company. And they did a look at what infrastructure existed in all of these data centers, and they said, we'll buy it off you, we'll lease it back, we'll buy it off you at zero cost, and we'll pay you $1 million for that infrastructure, and we'll dispose of it at the end as well. So, and if it wasn't for that, this decision wouldn't have happened. It was simply on the ability of our partners to work together, use all the structures that we have, and then their own creativity to sort of like close the gap. And that project's now running. It's literally in the middle of the project as we speak now. And it really couldn't happen without partners, right? The customer would simply not have made that decision at all. So that was the second story that I just wanted to highlight. The third story is really talking to creativity. So I love this story. So if you're not familiar, WSL is the World Surf League. They are the governing body for competitive surfing. And they've been responsible for that for maybe 10, 12 years. It became an Olympic sport in 2016. I think Tokyo was the first year that they actually had it as a competitive sport. And one of the things that they observed is that in order to really sort of like break into the mainstream of like the media industry and the coverage, is that they had to change the way that they surface data about what's going on inside these competitions. So you can imagine that's a very dynamic world that someone's like operating in. It's not like a track, you can just measure their speed. You know, wave height is different, speed is different. There's a lot of like variability. And the one thing I've noticed when I come to America particularly is that the commentary is very data driven. The amount of discussion points and data points and topics that come up is very much driven. So what they wanted to do was like revolutionize the way that they actually stored data and then fed that into the commentary systems. So they got really creative in terms of what they did. They've got like wearable technology, pulsing real-time data back into the system. They integrated it with their legacy data, their athlete performance data. They were creating all of these new KPIs and saying, right, we are now ready to feed that directly into the commentators who are like speaking, to the coverage. And like that is getting more engaging content and driving their success in breaking into that market more. So again, All Cloud in this instance, who've like a fantastic reputation for modernizing infrastructure, they were behind that. The thing that I've just described, it sounds like a massive project. I think they did it in 6 weeks. So like, the speed of which they were actually able to like move this system, get it onto the platform, get it up and running, really quite short time. So again, talking to that point about like speed to execution. And of course, they use these programs that we have as well, so they're minimizing the cost as well. So, hopefully what you're hearing from these examples is that there's a really strong chemistry between, what we do as AWS and how our partners support our customers on these missions. So anyway, that is my lot. I've been told that if anyone's got any questions, I should shuffle off to the side because there's a bit of a tight schedule that we're running to. But thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you've got any questions, I'd love to speak to you separately or at the booth, which we could see. Thanks a lot.